Well, hey there, how you doing? It's Simeon here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thanks for being here. Well, you've probably heard of the Hudson Valley UFO triangular craft that appeared in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area in the 1980s and even earlier than that. This is a witness that I interviewed several years ago. She and her family had an extended sighting of this object right over the Hudson River from their vantage point near Fort Lee, New Jersey. What makes this case really interesting to me is that her evening started off by going to the bookstore looking for a book for her son, and she happens to see the book Night Siege, all about the Hudson Valley UFO sightings of the 80s. Her sighting happened in 1988. And that book had already been published by then by several authors, including J. Allen Hynek. She didn't actually buy the book. She put it back on the shelf and went out to dinner with her family. When they came out afterwards, that's when they had their sighting for several hours into the evening. So it's a very interesting case. I think you'll enjoy it. So take a listen and let me know what you think. Okay.
It was 1988. My husband and I had gone to India. I've been 3 times. I'm not sure which time this was. And we'd been on a houseboat in Kashmir. I had gone to see a psychic in New Delhi. We'd been to Aurangabad. No, before that, the other trip. We'd been to Aurangabad, to the caves at Ajanta and Ellora. And when I came back from that trip, I was very, very anxious to have my photographs back, because I was very struck by the caves and the astrologer. And so I went downtown to pick up the pictures from Ajanta and Ellora. First, I took my son to get a haircut, and I was going across the railroad tracks to get my photographs. And I'm literally never sick. In the middle of the street, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I was struck by something. I have no idea what it was, but all I know was I felt like I was vibrating all over. I was just very agitated, extremely agitated. And all I wanted to do was go home and lie down. I didn't care about my photographs or my son's haircut. I just wanted to get home. So I ran to the photo store. I got the photographs. I didn't even look at them. I went to pick up my son. I paid it. I said, "David, I want to go home. I don't feel well." He said, "Mom, I need to go to the bookstore. I have a book report tomorrow." I said, "Oh, dear." I said, "How about Catcher in the Rye? How about Lord of the Flies? How about..." We got to the bookstore, and I said, "Janice, please help my son right away, because I want to go home." So they went off to find a book. I could not stand still. I was extremely agitated. And I said to my son, "I'm going around the corner to Cotique to pick up Lord Krishna's cuisine." My husband had decided to go vegetarian. "Mom, don't go. I'll come with you. Wait." I said, "Oh my God." So I was standing there, and I looked down on the bottom shelf, and I saw a book on the bottom shelf, a paperback called Night Siege. And I wondered what it was, and I picked it up, and I looked at it, and it was the last book that had an entry by, what's his name? Yes, Allen Hynek.
J. Allen Hynek.
Yeah, and I thought, oh.
The Hudson Valley UFO Center.
Yeah. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen this book," but I couldn't deal with buying it. So I said, "I'll hide it just in case it's a bestseller, and I'll come back tomorrow." So we went home, and I said, "Rosie, I don't feel well. I'm going to lie down." But I lay in bed, and I was tossing and turning, and there was no way that I could sleep. And my husband called and said that he wanted to have dinner with this French girl that lived with us. And he wanted to have dinner at the Clinton Inn, which is downtown in Tenafly. And I said, "Okay." And David, my son, said, Mom, I want to go to dinner with you, but I don't want to go to the Clinton Inn. I want to go to this other place in Fort Lee. And I said, well, I don't know how Dad feels about that. Let me call him and see what he says. So I called, and he was not there. I called the Clinton Inn and got him on the phone. He said, fine. I'll come home with Laurence in her car. We'll get in our car, and we'll drive to that restaurant, and then she'll go back to New York. So we got to that restaurant, Gabriel's it was called, and I felt better. I felt, thank God, whatever it was, it passed me by.
What year was this?
1988. And so I had pizza, I had a beer. We walked outside, and because I've always been involved with the sky, I looked up and I was struck. And I said, oh my God, look how clear it is, because usually if you look at New York, there's fog and smog and haze and whatever. Otherwise, it was a clear night. And I said, look how clear it is. And they all went, yeah, like, so what? And I thought, but it's so clear. It's strangely clear. It reminded me of the streams in Missouri where my uncle would say, how deep do you think it is? And I would think it was this deep, and he would take a stick and it would be like 6 feet deep because it was so clean and clear. It was crystal clear, but nobody seemed to care. So I said, oh well. And we got in the car. My husband was driving. I was in the front seat. My son was behind me, my daughter behind him. And we were going from Fort Lee up towards Englewood Cliffs. And I could see planes and lights, and all of a sudden I saw these lights up ahead. And I said, what are those? And my son said, my husband said, what do you mean? I said, those lights, what are those? He said, oh, it's probably a plane. I said, no, it's not a plane. He said, maybe it's a helicopter. I said, no, it's not a helicopter. He said, maybe it's a blimp. I said, no, it's not a blimp, because the blimp used to come over my mother's house in Houston. And he was like, who cares? But I was now really connected to this, and we were getting close to where we should turn left to go home on 9W. And my son started going, what is that? Dad, what is that? And now it was ahead of us and above us. But it was at such an angle I couldn't see what shape it was. And I didn't want to take my eyes off of it. And my husband started looking. And I said, don't look. 9W is very dangerous. It's dark and it's curvy. I said, somebody has to watch the road. And all I knew was I just didn't want to take my eyes off of it, because I was afraid if I blinked, I'd never see it again. And I wanted to see it. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and I don't know why, because there's really very few places to turn on that road. All of a sudden I said, turn left right here. And without arguing, my husband turned, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? I'll never see it again. Oh no, what have I done? Where am I? It turned out we were on a road up to Montana Golf Course. We don't play golf, or we didn't belong there or knew anybody yet. I said, oh my God, I'll never see it again. And I felt this terrible sense of, I don't know what to say, like terrible. And I started praying, and I was saying to myself, please, oh, my husband turned off the lights of the car, but not the engine. It was a Volvo. And I was praying, please, please, please let me see it again. Please let me see it again. And there were trees on either side of the road going up to Country Club. And something was telling me to focus on this one, I don't know, star, planet, I don't know. And I started trying to figure out, what is that? Because I knew I was facing southwest. And I thought, well, maybe it's Venus, I don't know. And I could see planes going, everything was clear. And then all of a sudden, it just came la-di-da, it just came over us like la-la-la. And it was just kind of, it felt like it was just kind of dreaming by. And I was saying inside, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And my kids in the back seat started fighting, and my son was going, I don't know who said what first. Sit down, shut up, I was here first. I can't see, get out of my way. And I'm like, would you please shut up? I'm trying to focus. And it's going over and over, and I could still see everything, like the star I was looking at or whatever it was, and the planes. It was like 2 different dimensions. And my husband got completely freaked out, and he said in this very weird little voice, he said, oh my God, what is that thing? And I used to say, you don't believe in it, I wish they'd land on your head. Bingo. So
What was the shape?
I'll tell you. And I said, you know exactly what it is. And I was trying to see, it was brilliant lights, but brilliant like lights I've never seen, like crystals and halogen, and I don't even know, and they were changing lights, colors, and it was a formation, and I wish I had a pen.
I have a pen.
The initial formation was a V. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second formation was a diamond. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, but it was moving as if it was one solid thing. It wasn't like a bunch of things trying to stay together. It was just moving. And I remember thinking it was the most perfect thing I'd ever seen in my life. The angles were perfect. The distance was, everything about it was geometrically perfect. And I was trying to figure out how high it was. I mean, it was really hard for me to figure that out. And then gradually it disappeared, and my son said, quick, Dad, back to 9W. So we went back down towards our town, and I had no idea why we did what we did, except we were going home. So we tried, and there it was again, only this time it was on the right-hand side. And I started feeling like, holy crap, this is very personal. I felt personal about it. Even though I realized on one level that it was over a lot of territory, it felt like it was on my street, and that wasn't exactly following me. It was sort of like, I don't know, leading me or something. Well, we got near our house, and my husband was totally freaked out completely. And we pulled over, and he said, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going home. And my son said, Dad, don't pull into the driveway. Dad, get out. Mom, climb over. Dad, get out. Mom, follow it. Now, at that point on my street, and in a little while, the trees come, and you can't see anything until you get to this one particular spot of the school, and then the whole vista opens up. You can see the planes going to Teterboro. You can see everything. And I could see it. And it was kind of going Teterboro-ish, but this way. And I didn't know exactly what to do, but I knew I shouldn't go this way, so I went that way, and I lost track of it again. And I went up Palisade Avenue, and I turned right on Lemoyne, I guess it is there, I don't know. And I have no idea why I did what I did. I turned left by the bicycle club, and I went to the end of the road, and it faces the river. I was at a stop sign, and I was praying again, please, please let me see it again. Please let me see it again. And la-di-da, here it comes. It just goes right up the river, and it stops right in front of me. I'm like, oh my God, I can't be the only person to see this. I have to share. I mean, I don't want to be the only person. I want to make sure somebody else, doesn't anybody else see this? Because it was so obvious. And so people kept coming up behind me and honking their horns, and I was like, finally, I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw some women, I don't know, 3 or 4 women in a car. I said to the kids, please stay here. I'll be right back. I put the car in park. I ran back. This woman was scared to death of me because I must have looked like I don't know what. And she didn't want to take her eyes off me because she thought I was dangerous. And I didn't want to take my eyes off it. And I said, excuse me. She goes, yes. I said, do you see that? And reluctantly, she took her eyes off me, and she looked, and she went, I could see it in her face. She said, do you mean that thing just floating by? I went, yes, yes, yes. I said, please do me a favor. Please go to the bookstore, buy this book, Communion by Whitley Strieber. Please call him and tell him what you've seen, because I didn't want to be the one to say, hi, it's me again, just saw another one, haha. And so she left. And here comes the part of the story that I always hesitate to tell, because it's like, it was too much for me, this one. So I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden this little light comes out of, like, I don't know, left field. And it's like one of those sparkler things. It's going bing, 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 bing. And it was very playful. And it felt mischievous and playful, but I reached a kind of point where I thought, oh my God, I was just dealing with that. Now that, what's this? And I remember thinking kind of that I had reached a point where that was, that was it. And as soon as I thought that, the second I thought that, all of a sudden it just started to move. And I felt that I had broken the connection with my fear or whatever it was. And I felt terrible because I felt that I had been the one to say, okay, that's it, I've had enough. And it started to move, and I was really, really unhappy. And
Did the little light move?
I don't remember what happened to Little Light, frankly. It was very playful and adorable, but I was just like, whoa, that's like, no. And I felt terrible because I realized that it was kind of my doing somehow. And my son said, Mom, quick, follow it. But I knew in my heart that no matter how, if I drove 150 miles an hour for all night, and it didn't seem to be going faster, it just seemed to be getting further away.
Yeah.
And my son made us go up to Nyack, where the El Toro Mexican restaurant used to be, wherever that is. And we turned around, and my son said, Mom, can we go back to the golf course? And I said, sure. I said, but honey, I think for now it's over. And so the next day, my son, who'd never said this before, he said, Mom, can we go to Friendly's and get ice cream after dinner? I said, sure. I knew there was something afoot. So we get our ice cream. He said, Mom, can we go back to the golf course? I said, yeah, sure. So we're sitting there talking about what had happened. And he said, Mom, did you want to get out of the car too? And I forgot to mention that I had a huge compulsion to open the door and get out and go. But I was held back by the knowledge that my husband would start screaming, get back in the car! Like that would help. And I was thinking, I can't get out of the car. I have 2 little kids to bring up, and I have responsibilities. I can't
The windows were rolled up when you saw it?
I think so, but what difference does that make?
But you didn't see it from outside. You were in the car.
Yeah, we saw it through the moonroof and through the windshield. But what is that? That's not a barrier,
So it'll be, what, 30 minutes?
Oh, no. Here's what happened. So I went back to the house. I had no idea what time it was. But I knew that the kids should get ready for school the next day and brush their teeth. And I went in my first thought was to tell the kids to wait in the car. That I was going to go in the house and say, oh, they beamed them up, ha ha. And then I thought, that's stupid and ridiculous. I mean, get in the house, brush your teeth, get your pajamas, I'll read your story. I went in the bedroom, and my husband said, there you are. I thought maybe you'd been beamed up. And I looked at the clock, and it was an hour and a half had gone by, and it didn't seem at all like an hour and a half. And when my son said, Mom, did you want to get out of the car too? I went. 5 days later, I went to Colorado. And by chance, I ended up having a tarot card reader come to my house. And the first thing she said to me, which I won't go into, was, you've just been through something very painful with someone you love dearly. Right. And then she said, and I quote, our extraterrestrial is very important to you at this particular moment in time. And I laughed and I said, oh, God, Lynn, you could say that to a lot of people and they'd think you're nuts. And I told her, and she didn't blink at all, not a blink. She said, it's not the first time. I said, no. She said, and then she mentioned the Pleiades, and I knew that anyway. And there's more to that Pleiades story. That's kind of it. Oh, and the next day I bought the book.
The Night Teach book.
And that's what he talked about, was that formation.
You saw the same thing that other people saw.
Other people saw what I saw.
Triangle.
Other people ended up saying it was weather balloons. It was ultralight planes. Oh,
Ultralight
bull
planes,
crap. So,
Well, other people also reported something they couldn't tell if it was a triangle or a diamond, or it would seem to change into.
Oh, the colors and everything was.
Well, what were the colors like?
Every color you could imagine, but it was like pinks and blues and golds.
Just the lights, right? You just saw. Did you see any structured craft or just lights?
It was one thing.
One thing.
Even though it was clear and I could see through it, I knew it was one entity. It wasn't a bunch of little entities staying together. But I can't do it perfectly because it was perfect. It's the most perfect thing I'd ever seen in my life, ever. This doesn't do it justice. Sorry. Anyway. They don't write, they don't call.
They don't write, they don't call, you sure?
Well, not that I know of now.
Have you had any experiences since then?
Not that I remember.
It's kind of amazing. I mean, it was a lot of people. And the criticisms, they said it was like Cessna's in formation.
They're not allowed by law to fly in formation. And it's very difficult for them to do that.
Especially on windy nights.
When they make a lot of noise.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous, but that's what the FAA said. I mean,
I
they
know.
were idiots. And
They have to say that.
did you hear any sound? That's what I was asking, if the windows were rolled up or down. So there was no buzzing sound or any sort of sound?
The moonroof was open.
All right. But you didn't, it was totally silent?
As
And
far
did
as I
you see
recall.
it make any turns the way people describe, where it just turned like a car turning, not like a plane banking, but just like,
Well, let me tell you, if it was going this way,
yeah,
and I go that way, and now it's coming this way, it made a U-turn.
yeah.
Do you ever talk about it with your son?
No. What's to be said? We discussed it afterwards. Oh, and because of what had happened to him, which I won't go into, I had to go to a doctor that following. It was Friday the 13th, wouldn't you know? No, the 17th. It was St. Patrick's Day. And I had to go to a doctor the next day, and I forgot to bring the check with me. And I walked in and I said to the doctor, I'm sorry I forgot the check because we had a close encounter Friday night. And he didn't blink. He didn't, it's like he said, oh, I believe in that. I mean, but, it wasn't like, oh, you're nuts. You're a crazy person.
Well, whatever happened after? Did something come back to you in dreams?
Well, the only other thing that I recall from there was that I dreamed, imagined, or who knows what, that I was walking out of my house in the middle of the night. I'm not a sleepwalker. And I came to a place, and it was something to do with them landing there on that place. And in a small thing, though. It wasn't a big thing this time. It was a small thing. And when I guess, woke up, I remembered wanting to go to that spot and see for myself in my waking time if I saw something. And I remember that on that place there was a ring of discolored grass.
Yeah.
So then I, of course, wondered, was it a dream? Was it a thing? Was it it's that kind of thing. Did I dream this, imagine this?
Yeah.